I'd like to welcome everyone to this week's edition of Software Spotlight, your front row seat to the latest innovations in software for small business. I'm Michael Bernsberg, your host, and each week we are joined by executives at leading software companies to get an insider's perspective on the emerging technologies, business strategies, and market trends shaping the future. Tune in to stay ahead of the curve on leveraging software to boost productivity and growth in your business. Be sure to visit our website, softwareoasis.com, to access our free weekly newsletter and sign up for our upcoming 2024 software webinar series. Today, we're joined by Mary Beth Alexander, who is the co-founder and chief executive owl of Knowledge Owl, a leading software knowledge base platform. With a passion for helping people and teams succeed through better knowledge management, Mary Beth has built Knowledge Owl into a trusted platform used by organizations worldwide. She brings deep insights on the power of knowledge sharing to drive efficiency, collaboration, and growth in organizations all around the world. So, with that, welcome to Software Spotlight.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting solution, and I know a lot of different strategies companies have used for their knowledge-based platforms, and a lot of different ways in which companies have tried to implement solutions. But it seems like from your end, I'd like to say you've taken a journey and figured out a lot of the right and wrong ways to do things. And I was hoping you could give us a little bit of a history or background of Knowledge Owl and the mission and solution that you're trying to the problem that you're trying to solve with the solution.
Yeah, so before Knowledge Owl was Knowledge Owl, we were called Help Gizmo. And Help Gizmo originated about 2011 as like an internal startup, like a lean startup within the Survey Gizmo ecosystem. So Survey Gizmo, I don't know if you remember Survey Gizmo. They were like Survey Monkey. They've rebranded. They're called Alchemer now, but that is like where I first started in software. And I was working there and we were building Help Gizmo. And Help Gizmo was designed to be a help desk solution. So like similar to like a Zendesk or a Help Scout, we were going to build it. And that project never got off the ground. But I was in charge of the support team over at Survey Gizmo, and my internal team brought that project back to life as an internal knowledge-based solution, which worked so well. Our person who was doing documentation for the software was like, I want to use this for our customer-facing documentation. In which case, at that point, the CEO was like, maybe there's something here. So we ended up bringing Help Gizmo to market, not as a help desk solution, but as basically a knowledge-based solution. And the original version of it, what we were thinking was it's basically like a standalone tool that would replace the built-in solution that you would see with help desks like Zendesk or Freshdesk. So like it was just the knowledge-based component of it, because at that point in time, there was not a ton of companies that just did the knowledge-based side of things. They were all built into the help desk solutions.
Makes
So
a
that's how we
lot of
started.
sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. And coming full circle to where you are now, what is the core offering or solution that the Knowledge Owl presents?
So when I try to explain this to people, my elevator pitch is like, we help people build knowledge-based websites. So it's a website to share information with your customers or your staff. So it's essentially a specialized website building tool. And when I'm talking to people about knowledge bases and like who uses knowledge bases, like the thing is, like you were mentioning earlier, is like any company could use Knowledge Owl, because like every company needs some sort of knowledge owl solution, like, or not now. I mean, you could use knowledge owl, but a knowledge-based solution. So you need somewhere to document your service or your policies and your procedures. Everybody has a knowledge base, whether it's informal or formal, but as companies grow, the best companies have that dedicated source of truth, which is like their knowledge base, either for their product or their service or their company. So yeah, I mean, we originally were like, it was hard to figure out, because they always say like the riches are in the niches and you should like go after a specific audience, but it's been hard because anybody, like anyone like could use Knowledge Owl, and we've seen lots of different industries use Knowledge Owl. So while
Oh,
we
you must
started
say
out is
Yeah. I mean, there
Yeah.
must be such a range of
Right.
customers.
I was surprised when people started signing up and you're like, oh, like I didn't even think about policies and procedures. We were just thinking about it like to document your software, like to document your solution, right? And to create that like help center for your customers. And very quickly early on, like some of our first like 10 customers, first 100 customers, they were using us for internal policies and procedures and like handbooks. And I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense too.
It makes a lot of sense. And, with my last company that I was running, we were in the outdoor sporting goods space, and we had so many details that people were using internally to be able to help customers externally. And at one point, we realized we need to get this all online. And at the point that we were able to do that, it really um, made the day to day for everybody within the organization much better. So the reality of it is, I think that our, or at least my takeaway is, a lot of the routine questions that people are wondering were answered. So it really elevated all of our employees to be able to handle higher level questions as they came up that may not just fit into a very black and white scenario. And I think that's where we saw the benefit to having this type of solution.
Yeah, retail is definitely like prime for it. Is like because people are just constantly asking other people, and that's that all that tribal knowledge, right? Like people are like calling people or asking people or trying to like look through their emails to find out how to do something. And once you can create that like consolidated single source of truth, you can then answer questions faster. Like you can onboard employees faster. Like I mean, the benefits are just like it just streamlines your operations and it lets you move on to what
Absolutely.
we call better problems, right? Better problems in
Sure.
business
And
versus
at
like
the end
simple
of
things.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think a lot of it is, providing a single level, or the same experience for every customer that interacts with your organization. So, it's not as, and especially as businesses scale and grow, it's not as if, you may have one customer speak with 10 different people in your organization and get 10 different answers. If the right information is documented and everybody's working from that single source of truth, it really helps to provide consistency within your organization.
That's the word that comes up a lot in our customer research. When we talk to people who've really successfully implemented knowledge out of their organizations, they talk about that consistency and the trust it builds internally and also with the customers because they're giving consistent information. And your agents and your support staff and everyone trusts what's in the knowledge base. They like know it's accurate. And so they're providing that level of confidence to customers as well.
Absolutely. And at a high level, I know you said that you see it being used across industries, but can you give an example of the types of customers that are using the solution, and what the reality of their day-to-day is, how it's
How they
impacting the
use it?
organization?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's some like big groups that use this. About half of our customer base are software companies. So they're software companies who are primarily using us to document their software and their solution for both their customers and their internal staff. The other half are those people using it for like the policies, the procedures, the internal documentation. We have a lot of people using it for like IT help desks. So like universities, like help desk, like they're creating that documentation that can be both for their help desk professionals as well as their people on their team that are like contacting their help desk. We have a lot of call centers who use us and they document all the information so that their call center agents have the information at their fingertips when they're taking those calls. We also see quite a bit of retail. So, especially when there's multiple locations, like spreading that information out across stores, like having one online site where people can go to read your policies and procedures and create that consistent experience across multiple locations is really big. But yeah, we see it across, I mean, pretty much like we span most industries, right? Like they can be used. So like I think we see a lot of education, we see a lot of banking, um, And you can sort of see why those organizations really like benefit from having that single source of truth. But those, when they're doing that, it's usually for their policies and their procedures and their handbook to make sure that they're operating and everybody's operating in the same way and using the same source of knowledge in their day-to-day work.
Makes a lot of sense. And I know we had a few minutes to chat before we started recording, and I can see that our vision on running companies and organizations is very much in alignment. And one of the things that I noticed in preparing for our segment is that Knowledge Owl is a B corporation. And
we are.
yeah, and I have to say, you're in a very select group. I think there's maybe 5,000 or 6,000 B corporations around the world. Other companies like Patagonia and Ben and Jerry's and Coursera and the like, and you were among those ranks. And I'm wondering what inspired you to pursue that, because I know it's not an easy journey.
It was not. So we just got certified in December of 23, and we started trying to get certified in May of 2020. So it was a journey.
Sure.
But yeah, so I consider myself an accidental entrepreneur. So like, I didn't mean to do this. So like, I was working, and I love helping people. So all my jobs are helping people. So back when I was at Survey Gizmo, I was helping people, I was helping start up this little project. And when they decided they wanted to shut down Help Gizmo, they gave us the opportunity to buy it and run it as our own company. That's how we became Knowledge Owl. So I definitely consider myself accidentally a business owner, and it was not an intentional thing, but I was very lucky. But one thing, as a business owner, and even as, as an employee on the other side of things, what I really resonated with was those companies like Patagonia, or companies like Zingerman's, or companies like, even like FreshBooks, like they were doing things different, right? They were really focused on treating people well, treating their staff well, treating their customers well. They were what now I think there's a big popular phrase is called people first. So I was always really into people first organizations, and the idea that you could build a business that wasn't just about money. Because it was never just about money for me. I wasn't doing it for money, right? Like, it was much more about a bigger purpose and caring about people. So like, that always resonated with me. And when I first started working from home, so similar to when people got sent home at the pandemic, when everybody started baking bread, right? Like, that was a thing. People just wanted to bake bread. I started working from home in 2015. And you know what I started doing when I was working from home? I was like, I should be baking bread.
And there was such a lack of flour. You contributed.
Well, this was 2015. So it was 2015,
well,
and I was like baking bread, because this was pre-pandemic. But this is what I learned. When you start living at home all the time, you're like, I should bake bread. It's a common reaction, apparently. So I was out buying flour, and I'm like trying to pick out what flour, and I see this one package of flour, because I'm very indecisive. Like, just looking at flour is stressful for me. And I see this thing called King Arthur flour. And I was like, I don't know King Arthur flour, but that sounds cool. And I'm reading the package, and they said it was a certified B Corp and it was employee owned. So both those things were like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like really into the idea of employee ownership. That's one of the goals for our company. And I was like, what's a B Corp? So that's how I got introduced to B Corp. So I learned what B Corp was then, and I was like, oh, we definitely want to do that someday.
So what were and just a little off topic, but on the topic of bread, I was wanting to bake a sourdough bread with my daughters, and there is no easy way to start a sourdough starter without just starting a starter.
It's a labor of love. You got to feed that. You got to keep it alive.
Absolutely. But
I don't have sourdough anymore. Just FYI, I'm not baking bread anymore.
There you go. But
it lasted a little while.
Like, for companies or for anyone that's listening that's interested in taking that journey of B Corp, what were the steps involved, and what was required to get certified? Like, what does it look like?
That was the thing. I always figured it was like something I could do someday. Someday when we're bigger. Someday when we're established, maybe we could do B Corp. But guess what? They have like micro B Corps. There's like B Corps of people, like of organizations that are one person. I didn't realize this before, but once somebody poked me and said, well, why aren't you doing it now? And I was like, well, that's a good question. Could I be doing it now? And I started looking into it. I realized that companies of any size could be B Corp. It's about how you run your organization. And it's about like having documentation. Right? There's the knowledge base aspect, having the documentation to prove it.
Yeah.
So in order to become a B Corp, you have to fill out an assessment. It's called the B Impact Assessment. Good news is it's free. So you can go to B Corp's website, you can click on the B Impact Assessment, and you can go set up an account and you can go through and do this assessment. And it's basically looking at you. They'll ask you some questions about your organization and the size and your industry to sort of cater the questions to you, but you answer about like your governance and how you treat people, how you treat customers, or your environmental policies. And you go through and you'll get a score at the end, based on like how you answer the questions. To be a B Corp, you need to have a score of 80. And if you can create the score of 80 plus and have the documentation to prove it, you could submit for B Corp certification, which is a little bit of a process. They'll go through, they'll audit it, just like any sort of like, more stringent like audits you'd see, like security audits. They will go through and make sure that you have the documentation to back up what you're saying and that you are walking the walk, right? And like you're doing what you're saying you're doing.
Makes a lot of sense.
That parse is there, but like it's easy to get started. And like you could use the B Impact assessment regardless of whether you plan to submit for B Corp. And you can use it to help find opportunities to make your company better, which is like, what's better than that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's so funny because, if you were, a lot of times people will undertake an assessment, whether it's something like a cybersecurity assessment or what have you, to achieve a certification. But in the process, they realize that, hey, if we take this really seriously, it can make us a better company. And that's
right. And a lot of companies, especially with like the security assessments, they could do things just to check the boxes, but like
exactly.
Or you could actually do it because you realize that doing these things will reduce risk for you and make things better for your customer and allow you to like market yourself better, right? Like taking those things seriously and actually doing it versus checking the box, I think is, sort of where the magic lies. A lot of people can just answer questions on a survey, but actually doing the work is where the magic
hard part.
is.
Yeah.
It is the hard part.
So if you were talking to yourself, from when you started this, and you could look at some of the lessons from along the way, what would you advise yourself? Like what were the big takeaways in going through that whole process, and what would you do differently, or what would you advise someone else that was going through the process?
Yeah, so I think, I would have started it earlier. I could have started in 2015 when we became Knowledge Hub. I could have been like, we're going to be a B Corp now. Like when I picked up that flower thing, like I'd say the first thing is just to start, just to like see where you're at and like benchmark it. Cause it's not like it's this thing that's totally separate from what you're doing day to day. It's asking you questions about how you treat your customers and how you treat and like run your business and how you like, organize things. So going through the process is going to like think about your business and make sure that you're doing those things that successful purpose-driven businesses do, like in your day-to-day. So I'd say like start it early and don't be scared. Like that's one. I would just do it. And that's the biggest thing. Like I don't even think there's a number two. I think it's just start. Like just do the work, right? Because like in doing the work, you're going to learn so much and your company is going to get better. Because I can tell you in those first 5 years of like Knowledge Owl, we were doing good, but we were sort of like just like floating around,
figuring
right?
it out.
Like it was very much like a lifestyle business, and it wasn't really. We definitely had the heart of like being a business that's a force for good and treating people well. We were definitely a people first business, but the actual like going through B Corp like really made us intentional about what our choices are and leveled us up to like this next level of doing business, and like made Knowledge Owl even a better place to work and even a better software to do business with. Like it's made our product better, it's made our company better, it's made our staff happier, it's made me happier as an owner. So the sooner you start it, like it's going to pay dividends.
So a lot of benefits. And were you able to find any kind of community or mentors along the way, or was it kind of like your own journey?
It was definitely our own journey. We were definitely doing it and this is something I've learned through the process of this. So this may be my number two is like, as a business owner, and this is not just related to B Corp, but one thing I've learned in the past couple of years is that like, you don't have to do everything for yourself. You don't have to be completely independent. I don't know why so many of us are like so fiercely independent. Like we feel like we have to figure everything out from ourselves.
Sure.
But what I've really leaned into these past couple of years are communities and building relationships with other business owners and like other companies that are doing similar things that we respect, and like sharing information with them. So like you're not alone and you can like lean on other people because you don't have to figure everything else for yourself. And I think that was a huge learning from this. We did the B Corp very much on the B Corp side of things. We did that very much on our own, but the process of going through it led us to be like, okay, we need to do mission, vision, values, because we've never like written that down. Like we had it in our
Sure.
hearts, but we'd never like put it on paper. And that brought me back to the Zingerman's Community of Businesses and Zing Train, which I, has a virtual training now, which are very aligned philosophically with like how I want to run my business. So like they really helped us with the operational side of things and getting all of those ducks in a row, as it would be. And then the past year, I've joined a bunch of different communities, or the past couple of years, like whether it's regarding marketing or, running a SaaS business. So I've started to like talk to other folks, and I've learned so much just by doing that.
Yeah, it's so important. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. One of my early mentors, was a great role model. And the very first thing that I did when I started Software Oasis was, putting together a mission statement and, vision and values and, figuring out what was important in this organization, driving driving behind, all of the underlying goals, whether it's vendors, partners, employees, all of that. So yeah, I'm right there with you. So
Yeah.
so coming into this, as far as your journey, professionally, education, all of that, coming into Knowledge Owl, what was the foundation getting you to where you were, that you were able to, you know, jump in and get things started?
So I think, so like core mission
Yeah,
is just like, I
on
like
your end.
helping people. I like helping
Okay.
people. So like whatever job I had, it was like very much a helping job. So like
Sure.
I was a camp counselor. I was a teacher, right? And then I transitioned from being like the technical teacher into being like technical support. Cause I was like, I was technical. I could probably get a job in software support and it'll pay me way more money than being a teacher, which was true.
Sure.
So that's how I got into software, but I just really love helping people. So like, and that's how, I'm not necessarily one that like wants to be a leader, but I like helping people. And I'm also pretty stubborn. I don't want other people telling me what to do. So I always sort of like end up in leadership roles. So like I
So it was a
started out in
perfect.
support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I started out that way, but like, I mean, and then it was great because when we built Help Gizmo, which is now Knowledge Owl, I had somebody I was building it for, right? Like they had a problem that they needed to solve, and like they were just telling me what they wanted. And we were just building it. So it's just about, and this is I think what great support is, and why I was really good at doing like software support and tech support, is because people would tell me the problem, and I would figure out like how do we solve that well, right? Like, and I love to help people solve problems. So I feel like that, and you hear so many different companies have that same sort of point in their journey where they're trying to solve a problem for themselves, right? And they figure that out, and they're like, oh, other people could use this, and then it becomes, that's how they bring their software to market. And
And
mine is
it's
similar,
yeah.
except that I was doing it for somebody else, right? Like I was like solving somebody else's problem. It wasn't my problem, it was someone else's, but I really like helping people. So like it worked.
Absolutely. That's where some of the best solutions come from. I mean, look at Slack. I mean, there's an example of a tool that was built as a internal tool and solved their problem, and the rest is history. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of the best solutions come from just that. And and you kind of hinted towards reaching out to community and to others, because clearly you can't solve every challenge that you come across in isolation. But in starting the company and getting things to where they are now, what were some of the big challenges or hurdles that you had to overcome to get to where you are? What were some of the big boulders or roadblocks that you had to go through?
I think a lot of our struggles, especially earlier on, was just not knowing what we didn't know, because neither of us, Pete and I, like the two, so it was two of us for a couple of years, like just the two of us working on the software. And we just didn't know how to run a business. And we're like, oh, do we need, like, someone's like, can you share your insurance with us? And we're like, oh, do we need business insurance? And that's how we found out we needed business insurance, was somebody asked
Sure,
for it. So like, it was just all of these things that you didn't know. And like, those first 5 years, I didn't have like a community. I didn't have a mentor. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. So like, it was just a lot of figuring things out as we go. But I think that also served us very well. Right. Because we're both very service oriented. Like when people wanted something, we would just do it, right? Like we just build it for them. So like, oh, we
Sure.
need insurance, let's get the insurance. Oh, you need this feature, we'll just build this feature for you. So it was very much, we call it like customer driven development. It's very support related. So customers tell us what they want and need, and we just build it. So those first 5 years, like I think like, and I hate to say this, I'm gonna like knock on wood, like it wasn't like super duper challenging because we were lucky enough. Like when we took over the company, we already had customers. We were already
Right.
growing, right? So we never had to go through the ramen phase, right? Like a lot of people go through the ramen
Yeah.
phase where they
Yeah.
like have it. Like we were able to focus 100% on knowledge owl. It paid us to live off of it. We like had enough like cash flow. So
You
like
had a
we were
running head
very
start,
lucky.
basically.
We
Yeah.
did. We started on third base, right?
Yeah.
We had a lot of help because like the initial prototype, we were getting a salary to build. So like we did it under the umbrella of the other company. So we were very lucky in that regard. But what I learned, and this is like a thing, if I could go back and tell myself this, I would. It's not related
Sure.
to B Corp, but it is related to running a business, is that sales and marketing are not bad words. Like I come from a support background and I just thought sales and marketing were icky. That's like what you did if you like no one wants to deal with
If
a
you didn't have a great
salesperson.
product to show, if you had to push it down
Well,
someone's
it's just
throat
like I just feel
versus,
like
yeah.
I've just had so many negative experiences with like
Sure.
people who do marketing and like say they do all these things, but it's really just right. Like it feels like you're just trying to sell, right? Like it's all about
Yeah.
money. Like, and I think I've had like a weird relationship with money, especially as a business owner. It's like that because that wasn't my motivation, but I considered a lot of sales and marketing things to be just about trying to figure out how to like trick people, which is not true because every company does sales and marketing. And if you think you don't, you're probably the one doing the sales and marketing. You're just probably not doing it very well because you're not, putting time and energy into it. But I mean, even the companies I love, right? They do sales and marketing, right? Like King Arthur Flour did marketing. Like I looked at that flour thing and I said, "Oh, they're employee owned and they're a B Corp," and I like that. That's marketing. And I had negative ideas about what sales and marketing meant. So like we just didn't hire sales and marketing people, and I certainly did not like put time and energy into what I considered sales and marketing because I thought it was icky. But I think that did like limit like our growth, because like I just had negative ideas about what that was. So we were able to grow and we were able to get here without doing sales and marketing. But I think like overcoming that and realizing that like it's nothing is good or bad. It's like how people do it. And there is a good way to do sales and marketing. So, and you can do it in an
Yeah. And
ethical way that is people driven. It's people first.
yeah. And I think, many times, I even look at my kids, I would love for them to be able to learn from my experiences, but the reality is sometimes you just need to go out and do it on your own, experience the world, and fall on your own and learn from your own mistakes to be able to understand why certain things are done certain ways, and doesn't always mean it's right, and what's right for you may not be right for someone else, but there are definitely some certain fundamentals to business, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting. So I don't want to, the one other question that I was wondering, so as far as the B Corp, are there, now that you've achieved that status, are there certain goals that you have with that B Corp status that are kind of like on your roadmap of
Yep.
things you want to achieve?
100%. So, I mean, B Corp is not like a one and done, right? It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a B Corp now. You need to both maintain it and like people often want to improve. So, like, we got our score. I think we're like around an 81, which you need to be an 80. And like, we want to have a higher score. So, like, what are the things that we could implement in our business that we didn't have the time and resources to do, right? That we could do to make life better for everyone and like to give more to like people on the planet. The big one that's on our roadmap is I want to be employee owned. Like that is my exit strategy. So everyone needs an exit strategy. And like
Sure.
mine is not to like sell to like a VC or like bring somebody in and like make the big payday. It would be nice to have the big payday, but like I want to sell it to the people that are working on it. And I want to figure out how to build a software company that is employee owned. Because you don't see that. Like I don't know one. Like I know some software development companies that are. But yeah, I want to try to figure it out. Like that's like my big hairy goal, right?
That's
like,
an admirable
employee owned.
Yeah, admirable
Yeah.
goal. And then at a high level, are there some, I know we haven't talked a ton about the solution itself because it obviously is a lot more to, to the story than just the Knowledge Owl solution. But are there some things on your roadmap that you've released recently that you're really proud of that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of really exciting stuff happening at Knowledge Owl, product wise, which I'm one of like this one is like not released yet. So like there's like two things that are in development that are like really, really exciting for me. That like I can't promise when they will be out, but like I've seen them, we're working on them. It's pretty fun. So
Sure.
one is going to be an open AI integration to allow you to like, actually integrate that into the Knowledge Owl experience. We've been exploring both sides of things where it's both for helping create content, so like content enablement, like bringing that into the application itself, but the more exciting one is actually what it would be like in search. So like having AI driven search or having the ability to have like a generative tech, like chatbot type experience with your knowledge base as a background. So
Very
really
neat.
excited about the work going on there. I know it's very polarizing. We did our survey with our customers last year and people were all like, give me AI. And people were like, do not give me AI. Like, I don't want to touch it.
Yeah. No,
They're very concerned about
absolutely.
privacy, right? And like data and all that. So, which we
For
were very
sure.
concerned about the privacy and data aspect of it too. But it's very excited. We also are looking at a brand new, adding a reporting suite. So it's been in QA testing for a couple of months. And for years, we had people using Google Analytics. So it's a website. So like you can use any analytics tool in Knowledge Owl that you already use for like tracking your visitors or like, so Google Analytics was like the most popular one. It's free. Then Google went to Google Analytics 4 and everybody hates it. So nobody wants to use it anymore.
Yeah.
So that really pushed us down the thing of like, maybe we should try to figure out how to like do that. What old Google Analytics used to do, Universal Analytics in Knowledge Owl. So I'm really
Isn't
excited
it
about
so
those.
funny how, companies, large and small, have something that everyone loves, and then in one way, shape, or form or another, end up,
They just take it away.
yeah, absolutely. It's just crazy, and
That's
it's
how I feel
interesting.
about it. Like I
Yeah,
have
it's
not seen anyone that's like, yeah, Google Analytics 4. People are like,
GA4. Yeah,
how do I get my
there's
old data back?
plenty of organizations that are training and teaching people how to use GA4, but I don't think they can make people love it. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about like the table stakes features that you think of like in different types of tools, and a lot of the things that like our customers have really responded to over the year, like you think that they're not that exciting of a feature like in terms of developing it, but it is the thing that really like people are like, I love that, I need that, like this is very important to me, and you're like, really? that
Yeah.
that's the thing that's really important to you? But I mean, people don't
And
lie, right? Like people will tell you exactly what it is, and it might not be the flashiest thing, but they're like, people have like needs. They have like
so
jobs they need to get done.
so where do a lot of the items on your roadmap come from? Is it mostly user feedback, or is it
Yeah.
mostly the team, or a little bit of both? Or
1000% like customers. So like we've like
okay.
long called it customer driven development. So like because we're good at support, we listen to people, and every time somebody requests something that we don't have or like a feature or like says something's not working right, it goes into our backlog. And like that backlog gets triaged regularly, and we organize that, and then we promote things from that into our backlog for development. So almost all of our like big features and functionality, like, and especially our most popular ones, have been customer feedback. And again, sometimes you're like, you really want this feature? So we're like, fine, we'll build it for you. And then we do, and everybody else loves it. And we're like, oh, people love that feature. So thank you. Thank you.
That
That was a good idea. So I think it's reinforcing. So like if we were building things for customers and then nobody else was using them, right? Like I think we would probably not continue doing that. But because the cycle seems to work, is like we release like people, a small group of people are telling us they want something, we build it and release it, and then this larger group of people says, oh, thank goodness you did that. Then we're like, okay, so we should probably listen to folks. We're starting to, and I think this is like a sign of maturity, we're starting to also like anticipate things. So like a lot of the things aren't necessarily things people are asking for, but we're trying to figure out, okay, like how do we make people's lives better? So we're starting to build some features and functionality to improve people's life before, like, so we're trying to like figure out where there are frictions that people aren't telling us about and
sure.
improve those things too.
And are there times that you have to say no?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. I mean, okay.
Well, yeah, and I think this is also like having like a vision for what your product is. So like
Yeah.
when we first started Knowledge, we said we're only going to do the knowledge base of things. So we're not a help desk, right? So we're not going to do ticketing. Like we're not going to add that aspect of it. We're also not a forum tool. So like we're not going to like have like this full forum and commenting and all sorts of like community aspect to it. So like because we're not a community tool.
Sure.
So and like LMS stuff, like people want to like quiz people and grade people and like track what people are reading and doing. And that's really like what an LMS does. So
Yeah, and
by
there's
really
plenty of tools
clearly
for that.
defining, there's plenty of tools, but like by clearly defining what we do and then like integrating with other tools that do that or like figuring that out, we can figure out where the bounds are. Like what are things that we can just say, like, we're probably not going to do that to people, right? And not give anyone like hope that we might build a feature. So there are parameters, but most of the things that people ask for are reasonable.
And where did the name come from?
Knowledge Owl?
Yeah.
We had like very little time. So like this all happened very quick when they were like, we're shutting it down. Do you want to buy it? And we're like, sure. Like we had like weeks.
Oh, that's
right.
great.
So we're like, okay. So we really liked Help Gizmo because it was cute, right? Like it had the Gizmo thing and people called us Gizmos and it was really cute. So like I've always really loved animal themed softwares, right? So like,
Sure.
I mean, when you say, so like we were already calling ourselves knowledge based software. So like when you think knowledge, what animal comes to mind, right?
Clearly an owl.
It's clearly an owl. And I was like, my joke at the time was, you know, when we first started just joking about it, I was saying you can't spell knowledge without owl, right? Because literally it's inside there.
Sure.
And then turns out the domain was available. And I was like, the domain's there. Is it too on the nose? Like, is it too? But we didn't have time. So it was like, no, maybe it'll just work. I didn't like the abbreviation because it was KO and it looked like knockout to me. But now KO just means knowledge all to me. It doesn't mean knockout. So at first there was a few things that I'm like, I'm not sure about this. But I went on, and we're not designers either. So I went on a logo site where you can like browse existing logos, and I looked for an owl. And I found one. It was like this like old, like little, like robot looking owl. But underneath it said knowledge, and it had owl highlighted in it. And I was like, that could be our logo. So we just used it.
Great. That's awesome.
It all sort of just came together super fast. So like, who knew?
That's fantastic. Well, you know, would you mind maybe sharing a tab and giving us a quick little overview of how the solution works? And I think sometimes, what do they say? A picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Yes, it's much easier.
Always great to see the tech
window.
behind it.
I haven't done the share screen in this tool. It's very much like Google. So that's nice. Like Google
same
Meet.
idea, just a little up arrow and choosing a tab.
You should be seeing our website.
There it is. Perfect.
There it is. Okay. So a great way to figure out what Knowledge Owl does is to go to our website, and we have a tab on the website called the Customer Showcase. And these are examples of live knowledge bases from our customers. So you can see what Knowledge Owl looks like in the wild to get an idea of like what I mean when I say a knowledge base website. So there's a whole bunch of links to our different customers. A lot of these are going to be our software companies because a lot of software companies will have public sites. Most of our customers, like a good percentage of them, will have private knowledge bases because they don't want their competitors or like anybody else looking at their content. So you can't see all of them, but these are ones that are public that people have like purposely done. There's a help desk one from Wharton. They use this for their computing, like help center. But most of these are going to be software tools. So the one I always start with is actually our own knowledge base for our product. We're using sort of our default theme on the box. So if you go to our support knowledge base, it gives you a good idea of what a knowledge base is. So with Knowledge Owl, we have some default themes out of the box. So you can just go in there. You can use your own logo, your own domain, your own fonts, your own colors, and like choose your stuff. We also give you like complete access to the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you have developers on your team or design team or marketing team, you can go wild and you can make it look and feel however you want and really make it a seamless experience for your brand, which a lot of our customers take full advantage of. It's one of the reasons people really like Knowledge Owl is it's like fully customizable. But this is a good example of what it looks like out of the box. So if you're not too tech savvy and you just want to build a simple, straightforward knowledge base, our knowledge base is a good example of that. So a knowledge base website is made up of like two basic components of what we call categories and articles. So I'm going to click on this little hamburger menu so you can see this. Our categories are like your folders, right? And the articles are like the individual web pages that you can organize into those categories and folders. One unique thing about Knowledge Owl is you can create whatever structure you want with a lot of tools. You can do like 3 or 4 level streams. Some tools actually like charge you depending on like how deep you want your hierarchy to go. With Knowledge Owl, you can create your content and organize it in whatever way is going to make sense for your end user, what we call readers. But those are sort of the 2 basic building blocks. I'm a huge fan of having these table of contents. I know a lot of people like to hide them because people find them visually overwhelming, but I'm a big fan because I'm a person that would use this. So as I'm scrolling through, you're also seeing, here's one of our favorite customer-driven features. Somebody requested this like back in 2015. But it's the ability to flag articles as new or updated. So you can flag an article as new or updated. It adds these little, and you control it too. So if you fix a typo, you probably don't need to announce that to the world, right? But you can flag things as new or updated. And as you're like navigating around or you're searching for things, you'll see those icons appear. What's also really neat about it is it's tied to a feature we have called subscriptions. So you can add subscriptions to any category in your knowledge base. So you can allow, for us, we have a category called release notes. So anytime we release something with our product, we allow our customers to subscribe. And then whenever we flag an article as new or updated in our release notes category, they get an email about what's new and updated. But that's sort of like the basic structure of it. Now, the 2 things that people do with a knowledge base, I mean, obviously are going to be search, but you do have a lot of people that are going to browse. So like the browsers are often like new employees, new customers, and they just want to see what's all available in your knowledge base. The table of contents is a great way to do that because they can sort of explore without having to like actually search for things or reload the page. They can get a sense for all the different content you have.
Sure.
But we also have these sort of like category icons. So people love to browse like visually and say like, oh yeah, I am interested in API and webhooks. And you can drill in through those categories. Or no, I'm interested in account and billing, and you can drill in through the categories themselves to actually get down to your articles and your content. But what most people are going to do is like obviously get a search. And our search has a couple of different levels. If you're familiar with Elasticsearch, it's built on top of Elasticsearch. But we give you a lot of enterprise level search, and it is one of our customers' favorite things. They like that it just works. You don't have to train it. You don't have to add search keywords or tags to make the search work. When you create an article in Knowledge Owl, we're automatically indexing 6 different things about all of those articles for your search. And that gives you a layered experience. So like as I'm typing, it's going to be suggesting articles. It is typo tolerant. As you can see, I can misspell Google and it still understands that I'm looking for Google. And this sort of type ahead search is a really fast thing. So for your power users or your agents or your staff that just need to get to a document really quickly, they just type in what you're looking for, like, a W-9, and they can just choose it right from there and go straight to that particular article. Or in this case, it's going to a PDF, which a lot of people use us for document management too. But our full search gives you the more like Google-like search results so that you can see, okay, here's all of the paginated search results. You can see where your search term appears. You can sort them. Again, it's going to be fuzzy or typo tolerant, but this will give you the ability to really like dig into the search results and get some metadata and make sure you're like choosing the right article that you're looking for. And we have a bunch of features and functionality on top of the search to make it better, like search phrases and a feature we have called synonyms, which is really exciting. But I realize we don't have time for a full demo, so I'm going to stop there and ask you if there's anything you'd be interested to see.
Couple of quick questions. So, can the knowledge base be internal or external?
Absolutely. So like this is a public knowledge base, so you do not need a login. If I was going to go to our company knowledge base, which is like our internal stuff, it's manual.sillymoosellc.com. Silly Moose is our parent company name. That also has a really good story, but maybe for next time.
Sure.
But this is our internal knowledge base. So like when I did that, you realize like I had to, let me go back here. I'm going to go in here. And when I log in, it's locked down by single sign-on. So you have
security. I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So you can set up SSO. So whether you're using Azure or Okta or whatever IDP you're using, you could also set up your own with the API. So you could automatically log people in from your software. And that just makes sure that like you're only letting the people you want into your software to get there. And what's also really neat is you could do a mix of the two. So some people have knowledge bases that are public and then allow their internal staff to log in for access to additional content.
Okay, and 2 other quick questions I know people are probably wondering. So, if someone is making this a public-facing knowledge base, is there some sort of SEO optimization to the knowledge base?
Absolutely. So like if we just like looked for this, we have our SEO guide of like how to do this, but we tried to design Knowledge Owl. Obviously it was designed for like public facing sites. Um we tried to design Knowledge Owl like as a public site first and foremost. So for every page you can customize your title tags, your meta description.
Okay.
We're going to take care if you reuse content, we're going to add canonical tags for you. You can generate your, site map for indexing for like Google Search Console. But there's a lot of tools and functionality to like give you control to make sure that your site is optimized.
And
And
I want to say, for anybody that didn't notice, that was super fast.
oh,
I know, when you're doing a live demo, nothing ever works exactly the way
oh.
you'd expect, but that was amazing. And then
Well, the
the
good thing is
last,
I always demo with a live site, so I'm very used to it.
there you go. And then the last question, for a company that's really concerned about their branding and all of that,
Mhm.
can they have like a subdomain
Yeah,
or a
absolutely. So
CNAME or
if you
something like
check
that?
on any of our other customers' sites, you will have no reference to Knowledge L. So there's our
Okay.
friend Jackrabbit. Love these guys. That's Zippy. He's a rabbit. But you can see it's help.jackrabbit class, and
You've
there's no
just attracted
reference.
all the forest animals, I guess, right?
I do. I look. We also have down here. This will be fun. Where are they? Send owl. No relation. No
Okay.
relation. But they're really fun too. But they have an owl. Again, no reference to knowledge owl. So a lot of times you could be using out there, using documentation, and you'll have no idea you're actually on a knowledge owl site.
Well,
Um,
hopefully you're open to tropical themes too with Software Oasis, right? We have
we do. I mean, one of our favorite demo sites that we like to use is a Aloha KB. So we have our owl. His name is Linus. We have an Aloha version of Linus. So
very
we use
fun,
that in a
very
lot of our
fun.
documentation.
Well, that was super helpful. That was great. I mean, I
Mhm.
think sometimes you can talk about something, but just seeing it really brings it to life. And then I guess just in wrapping up, obviously you have a very unique leadership style. Maybe obviously it feels very comfortable and feels like you. But can you talk a little bit about how you've been able to balance some of the responsibilities of being hands-on, but also being a CEO of your organization and allowing others to do their thing? While I'm sure a lot of times you might have that sense that you want to just jump right in.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn this because, like, I did the support, right? Like, I was the support person, like at Knowledge Owl. Pete helped too, but like when customers talked, they talked to me. I did sales, I did support, I helped with customization and professional services. Like, I did the whole thing, and I'm comfortable doing it, and I love doing support. So it was obviously something I liked doing, but it was one of the earliest things we brought in people to help with because I couldn't run the business and do all the support myself. So it was one of the earliest things I think I was able to bring other people in to help with, but like to let go of that was really hard for me. And they talk about this a lot when you read books like, Attraction or whatever is like letting go, right? And I think I've learned, and for the most part, like I've let go of support because like that is something I know so well that I was able to hire people who are so good at support, who are as good or better than me at support and can take care of our customers. And I don't have to worry about support anymore, right? Like I don't have to think about it. I can jump into support if I want to go help people. Um, but like I know it's taken care of because I've hired people who like care as deeply about support as I do.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
I think we have a similar vision on that. I mean,
yeah.
in the organization I was running before, we had thousands of orders coming and going, and shipments, and at the end of the day, if you can't be everywhere and you can't do everything, so if you have the right people in place that not only have the right background but care about what's going on, I think that's so
Yeah.
important to scaling an organization.
I've learned this recently, and you've had the joy to interact with Chad. But like one of the greatest things I have done, and this was a recommendation from my business coach, was to hire an assistant. I was like, I don't need an assistant. I don't need an assistant, right? Like, why would you? That's silly, right? It was like incongruous was what I thought about like good leadership was like, servant leadership, hands on, right? Like you're in the front lines with the troops, and uh, it took me a little bit to be like, I could do this. I could hire an assistant. And it has been a game changer because I have so much more time to focus on other areas of the business and to do other things. And he takes care of everything for me. Like emails do not get missed, meetings do not get missed, like important things make it onto the calendar and balls don't get dropped. And like that for me was huge. And if
Sure.
anyone is on the fence, like I'd say like that is the first hire you need. You don't need to like hire support. You don't need to hire like a salesperson or developer. Like get yourself an assistant because you will open yourself up to more things. And you can add those other things on. But I think the very first hire to be able to balance your responsibilities as like both the business owner and the person in the business doing the work is to get some of those more repetitive things like off of your plate so that you can focus on other things.
And that answers my next question is what type of advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs? And it sounds like they're right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Also just do it. Like I think it's harder. I think the older you get, unless you've done it before, like it's easy when you're younger to just like you just do things because you're not scared of falling, right? Like little kids are not scared of falling down. They fall all the
Sure.
time. Now as an adult, like I'm very scared of falling, right? Like I do not want to break anything. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to be out of commission for a week and hurt my back. So I'm much more careful. And I think it's not just with our bodies, but it's with our lives, right? So I think a lot of times people are nervous about just starting. And like that is whether it's B Corp, whether it's your business, whether it's like your New Year's resolution, like, whatever it is you want to do is just
do
taking this, just taking the steps. But like in order to take the steps, you have to make time for it. Right. And I think the biggest thing I've learned like in life is to actually like audit where you spend your time, right? Like see where you spend your time and then remove things that are not serving what you want your future life to be and fill that with the things you want to do. Like make time for it and then like obey your calendar, right? Like schedule your time and then like, work the schedule. And it's amazing what you can do when you actually set time aside to meet your goals, right?
Absolutely. And I'll share with you, when I started podcasting, it was as far from my comfort zone as you could get. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I guess I need a microphone. And that's the first place. And, sometimes you just have to get started, and just, take a step. But it's been very rewarding. I can't tell you how many amazing people I've had the opportunity to meet. And I think the audience really enjoys a lot of the content and the variety, and I think a lot of great lessons in life, to be had from meeting a whole variety of different people who are doing great things. So,
yeah. And I think you have such a great angle on the podcast too. It's not, a lot of like people do founder podcasts and like are really focused like on the founder and their aspect and like their revenue numbers and like tips and like very tactical stuff,
sure.
about the founders. And I really love how focused it is on the solution, right? And like what the solution could provide and like that. But you're also combining it like conversationally with that aspect. So it's like you get both, right? You get exposed to new and different tools that you might want to use in your business or your life, but you're also like learning about like being a leader. So
Absolutely.
it's like you get best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really interesting things. And I think one of the biggest challenges for a lot of small businesses, figuring out what is the right tool, the right solution to help us accomplish the challenge that we see in front of us. And the reality of it is there is no one best tool. There are so many different solutions. Many of them are excellent, many of them are phenomenal. And it's really just a matter of being exposed to the different possibilities to figure out what the right tool is. So on that note, I really appreciate your taking the time out to join us on the spotlight this week. And coming up next week, Brandon Leibowitz is joining us. He's the founder and SEO guru behind SEO Optimizers, a digital marketing agency specializing in search engine optimization. With over 15 years of experience, he has helped numerous businesses drive more online traffic, leads, and sales through strategic SEO. So be sure to visit our website, softwareoasis.com, to access our free weekly software newsletter and sign up for our upcoming 2024 software webinar series. So once again, Mary Beth, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.